Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 22, The Valiant. So, to be completely honest with you, just like the previous episode, this episode just wasn't that great. It had a fantastic premise, and it could have been really good, but for whatever reason, for me personally, it just kind of fell flat. So, the episode is basically about Nog and Jake, two very underrated characters, and they're on their way to Ferenginar, where, Jake is hoping to write a story with the Grand Naga Zeke and all sorts of stuff, and they end up getting picked up, they end up getting attacked by a Jem'Hadar ship, and they're rescued by the Valiant. And the Valiant is basically a sister ship to the Defiant. It's a Defiant-class starship. And so they're picked up and they're saved by the Valiant. And it turns out, and this is where it gets a little bit spotty for me, that the whole senior staff of the Valiant have been killed in action, and all of the cadets on board are now in control of the Valiant. And so, I don't know, it's basically just almost Lord of the Flies or something. Like, it's a whole starship run by teenagers. And so, to further it, it turns out that they're run by Red Squad, who we've seen previously before, and which Nog is familiar with, who's technically, at this point, he's an ensign, where they're all cadets, so technically he would outrank them, but because they're the only people on board, they have assumed the leadership roles, so there's the commander, and there's the chief, and there's the captain, and all of this. And they basically talk Nog into being part of it. He's like chief commander at this point, he's the chief engineer. And because he knows all about the warp drive and stuff like this. And Jake is pretty much the voice of reason. And he's like, this is insane. We need to go back to Federation space. So he gets thrown into the brig. By the time we get to the end of the episode, they have found out about a new battleship cruiser from the Jem'Hadar. That's this massive ship. And the captain, who unfortunately his name is Tim, is like, okay, let's attack it. And Jake is like, this is stupid. We're all going to die. And they do attack it, and they do nothing to it. No damage whatsoever. And so, we see all of the escape pods going out, and this is where it was a little dark even for me, where you would see an escape pod come out and the Jem'Hadar ship would just instantly blow it up. So later on we see Sisko and Kira and Dax on the Defiant, and they're like, oh, there's a distress call from the Valiant, and Worf mentions the Valiant's been missing for 8 months. So they go in to investigate anyways, and they find 3 survivors, Jake, Nog, and the commander of the ship. And basically they're the only ones who survive, which, again, it's a little too coincidental that the 2 main characters survive, and everybody else that we spent this whole episode finding out about is just dead instantly. And the commander's he was a great man, and Nog has the line whereas he may have been a great man, but he was a bad captain. And that's it. That's the whole episode, is watching these cadets try to do the right thing and then fail. It kind of reminded me of the Next Generation episode First Duty, where we see Wesley trying to basically Red Squadron, and they're trying to do too much and they end up failing, but they learn from it, and there's consequences, and there's more to it than that. Whereas this episode, it's oh, you tried to attack a Jem'Hadar vessel, where you're dead now, and there's no learning from this episode. It's just oh, we have 2 main characters, and they were part of a ship full of young people who didn't know what they were doing, and now everybody's dead except for our 2 main characters. And I don't know, that is not appealing to me as a viewer, because there's no learning from it. So, I don't know, I didn't enjoy this episode. For those who have seen this one, what did you guys think? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for everything. I will see you guys next time for the Ferengi episode, Prophets and Lace.